Oh, how the mighty have returned for a final victory. Juror number 2 is Clint Eastwood's last directorial film. It stars Nicholas Hoult as a man named Justin Kemp, who is issued for jury duty for the murder of a woman who was apparently thrown from a bridge a year prior. After hearing the details of the case, Justin's world is rocked when he thinks back to a dark, rainy night when he hit something with his car that he couldn't see and figured it must have just been a deer. And he comes to the realization that he is the one responsible for the woman's death. For reasons that are still blurry, Warner Brothers decided to only give this movie a theatrical release just wide enough that it can be eligible for the Academy Awards, so it's only playing on a mere 50 theaters across the country. Clint Eastwood's absence from the premiere was apparently out of protest. I was lucky enough that it was playing near me at Lincoln Square in Bellevue, and to my pleasure, it was a pretty packed theater. Now, in recent years, Clint Eastwood has not consistently had as many hits as he used to. Richard Jewell was good, but the 1517 to Paris, The Mule, and the aggressively dull Cry Macho had me thinking that Eastwood's career had its time and he had become an old fart who lost his touch. I was pleasantly proven wrong because he has come back swinging with Juror number 2. I would say this is his best film since Changeling from 2008. It was the premise that immediately grabbed my attention once I read it, to the point that I would have gone outside my normal range to a theater playing it if I had needed to. It's a plot that admittedly does rely on a pretty astronomical coincidence, but the thing about coincidences in life is that, as small as the chances are, when you think about all of the variables in the grand scope of everything, coincidences are inevitable. It's a fascinating paradox. And sometimes I like to think that it's just God messing around with us. In film, I find coincidences easy to accept when they're used to set the story in motion, as opposed to when they're just a plot contrivance. As in, when it all starts with the question of, in the unlikely event that this did happen, what would come from it? You know, like Swing Vote. Although there were still some unbelievable contrivances needed in order to make that coincidence happen. Honestly, the part of Juror number 2 that was most difficult to accept is when a certain character Googles someone's husband and right off the bat gets image results. Obviously, when you search name of random citizen husband, you wouldn't immediately find what you're looking for. You need to do some digging on Facebook. But hey, when a simple Google search is the most ridiculous thing in your movie, you're probably doing okay. Beginning to end, I was on edge for the main character. It's an excruciating predicament that he finds himself in, being stunned with the realization that he accidentally killed someone and somebody else is on trial for it. But if he was to do the right thing and turn himself in for vehicular manslaughter, it would take him away from his wife, played by Zoe Deutsch, who's in the third trimester of a high-risk pregnancy. And it's even more important for him to be there because, just a year earlier, they were expecting twins who were eventually miscarried. All that was going through my head through all of this was, don't make me think about what I would do in this situation. So what Justin is aiming for is to give the other jurors a reasonable doubt without revealing himself, which proves difficult because the man on trial has a long criminal history and the evidence is against him. And because another one of the jurors, played by J.K. Simmons, is a retired homicide detective, so that makes it even more sweat-inducing for him. Gotta give major credit to the writer Jonathan Abrams, whose only other IMDb credit is associate producer for Escape Plan. Random. It's really impressive that for someone's first writing credit, there are extended scenes where not much is happening, it's all dialogue-driven, and it's getting my heart rate rising. That is talent that should guarantee Jonathan Abrams more work. The only drawback to the writing is parts in the jury room that resemble 12 Angry Men a bit too closely, like Justin standing alone as the only one of the 12 jurors voting not guilty, and even almost verbatim quoting Henry Fonda. We're talking about someone's life here. It's not easy to vote guilty without discussing it first. Not to mention, there's one juror who refuses to be swayed because there's some personal reason that he's bent on getting this guy convicted, just like Lee J. Cobb. A few distracting similarities aside, this movie still sets itself apart from 12 Angry Men, as it doesn't just revolve around everything that goes on in the jury room. In addition to Justin's dilemma, there's another interesting thread that involves the prosecuting lawyer, played by Toni Collette, who believes that winning this case will be her ticket to getting elected to district attorney. I must say, I find it refreshing that the two lawyers on the case, prosecuting and defending, are friends outside of the courtroom. Their scenes together make their field of work seem professional in a way that not many courtroom movies I can think of do. And not a moment of this movie feels wasted. The discoveries, the characters, their motivations are always progressing, always moving forward. For a movie that's so heavily driven by dialogue, I could not have asked for it to be shorter. An image that appears often in this movie is the statue of Lady Justice holding a weighing scale. What that most obviously pertains to is Justin's efforts to shift the scale in favor of acquittal. But by the time the credits rolled, without spoiling anything, it occurred to me that the scale also pertains to the moralities of Justin and the man on trial. Near the end, there's a conversation between Justin and the prosecuting attorney outside of the courthouse, and the last line from Justin before he gets up and walks away had me sitting there thinking, wow, you got me there, that was deep. So, Juror number 2 is a really compelling courtroom drama with a great cast of solid performances, a suspenseful plot, and sharp characterizations. If it's playing anywhere near you, don't miss it. It's a terrific high note for Clint Eastwood to go out on, and shame on the distributor for not giving it an adequate release. Scoring on the Factor Facts, I'm going to give Juror number 2 an 84%. That's a wrap. Thank you for watching. I hope you found this review helpful. Like and share, subscribe for more. This is Pop Culture. I'm Alex Pop.